if you're looking to have the best looking footage possible for your videos, this is the one rule that you should keep in mind to make sure that you do that. All right, so today we're talking about the 180-degree shutter rule. Now, this rule applies to make sure that you get the best looking footage that you possibly can when you're shooting indoors and outdoors. Now, I want to go over both of these because your settings can't really be adjusted if you're always abiding by this rule. So what is the 180-degree shutter speed rule? So if you're shooting in 4K at 24 frames per second, like I am in this video, then what this rule says is that your shutter should be double your frame rate, meaning 24 frames per second should be 1/50. That's as close as you can get to double 24. If you're shooting 30 frames per second, it should be 1/60. If you're shooting 120 frames per second, then it should be 1/240 or 250, depending on your camera settings and what it allows for. So this rule applies to make sure that you get the most natural looking motion blur that you possibly can. So you see here that my hand is moving. It looks pretty natural. Now, if I were to, let's say, make this a little brighter just so you can see it, and I up my shutter speed to say 500, notice that there's like a jittery look to it and it looks very, very unnatural. This is not what you want to do. Whenever you're shooting photography, normally you would crank up that shutter speed so that it opens and closes really, really quickly, letting in less light and allowing you to capture an image that is properly exposed. Now, for video, you can't really do that, and you have to have your shutter speed at double your frame rate in order to accomplish this more natural looking footage, more of a professional quality of video. So that's essentially what the 180-degree shutter rule is. Outdoors makes a very big difference because you have to abide by this rule, meaning you have to stay at 1/50. So when you're outside, the best thing that I recommend to get is going to be a variable ND filter, which looks something like this. Now, this is the Peter McKinnon version with Polar Pro, and these can be a little expensive, but notice that right now it's at 2 stops down, and you can adjust this depending on how much light you need to compensate for and how much more you may need or to lessen depending on the situation. These can be expensive, but it has lived in my bag for like the last 3 years, and it has done me extremely well on photo shoots and video work. Here's a prime example of what outdoor footage might look like. You can see it's pretty blown out. It's still at 24 frames per second and still 1/50, and I have to abide by that rule, and I don't want to jeopardize the background here, so I'm not gonna mess with my aperture at all, but I am gonna apply this variable ND filter, and as soon as I do, I get a much better looking image, and I can adjust some of the lighting to make sure that it looks clean and crisp. Now, on a bright sunny day where I have blue skies instead of this overcast sky that it is today, it'll look a lot better. This is essentially what a variable ND filter can do for your footage when you're out and about shooting on bright and sunny days. Thanks so much for tuning in. I really, really appreciate it. I hope this brought you value, and I hope you learned something here today. And if you did, drop a comment. Let me know how this helped you improve your videos, and I look forward to seeing you all on the next upload.